So can you share what first inspired your journey into generative agriculture and how it aligns with your broader vision of combating climate chaos?
Okay, so what first started, I think the seeds of this got sown much earlier when I was a child. And I used to, during my summer vacations, I used to go to my village where my grandfather used to be like the chief farmer of the village. And he used to not only sort of earn from his farming, but also learn from his farming. And in fact, he always sort of aspired to work along with the entire village community. And and as a child, when I used to look at him, I think I was in awe of it. I got like a lot of inspiration that how can he actually lead so many people and things of that sort. I think the initial seeds got sown there. That point, of course, we did not know anything about climate and chaos and climate change and everything. And it was not even evident then. I'm talking 40 years, 42 years before now. So later on, as soon as like I started realizing these things, and when, as a matter of my journey and my education and my learning, once I started getting delving slightly deeper into it, I thought this is one of the most crucial things that need to be sort of tackled, primarily because food is the requirement for everyone. And the way the food is grown and the way the food is sort of processed and produced in between, and then the way it is consumed, that entire value chain is like one of the most crucial parameters of how we are going to live, what we are going to face, and what consequences of it will be there on the planet and people. So that is where I think I got more and more inclined towards it.
Okay, that's really great. Your childhood has impacted a lot, right? Okay.
Yeah, everyone's does. It's only we start making the connections a lot later. So the
Yeah.
connecting the dots happens later, maybe, but yeah.
So how have you seen regenerative agriculture impact local communities and the environment in your work so far?
So, Hana, see, the idea is so far wherever I have worked, and this has ranged from Ladakh to Kerala. So I have like pretty much worked in communities throughout the country, pan India, and with very differing requirements. Say, for example, just to give you one quick example, farmers in Himachal who are already a bit prosperous have a very different requirement as compared to farmers in Jharkhand, UP, and Bihar, for example.
Okay.
But what it has helped them do, because the idea that I believe in is more into an ecosystem approach. It cannot be like a quick fix solution because the problem itself is so complex, and then you are dealing with nature and people, where again behavioral issues and lot of such things actually creep in. So you will have to co-create the solution along with them. But when I say ecosystem, I am talking about taking multiple stakeholders together
Mm-hmm.
and working towards the betterment of not only the ecological situation in their communities, but also to sort of enhance prosperity at the bottom of the pyramid. So what I have seen is that if you can actually sort of start with the design aspect, as in we call it, as in I used to call it always like a seed to sale approach or a soil to sale approach,
Yes.
which is where you start from is the initial thing, which is like the soil,
Soil.
how you deal with it, the design that you actually make, and then eventually also link it with the market so that they have enough and adequate incentives to carry it forward. It cannot just be like a project based 3 year 5 year sort of how do you call it, milestone based project or something of that sort.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be a very inclusive and integrated system, and we have definitely seen changes happening. See, you can if you have the entire thing laid out,
Yes.
it is possible that you can
Mm.
intervene at any possible juncture.
Yes. Absolutely true. Because once you have that printout, right, everything step by step we can take ahead, right?
Yeah, sometimes you can also alter the steps. So,
Yes.
for example, in Ladakh, when we started working, what
Mm-hmm.
we did was we did not go for the design of the farm and which
Mm.
seeds you are going to use, what methodologies you are going to use. Since we entered the community slightly late and they already had something existing, they had
Mm-hmm.
already sown and we
Mm.
knew what they are going to grow. We started with processing of that and
Okay.
linking it to the market.
Hmm.
That enhanced their incomes and also gave them a trust on us that we understand what we are doing. So
Yes.
next year it was a lot easier for us to convert them into saying that okay, fine enough, what if you go one step ahead and
Hmm.
now start adopting more like climate neutral, climate resilient methodologies. So that is how it was. Yeah.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So now your ethical entrepreneurship. So how do you define ethical entrepreneurship and what are some key principles you adhere it to your ventures?
See, when I talk of ethical entrepreneurship, at least I also tried attempting writing a paper which got
Mm-hmm.
rejected by one of the institutions I was actually studying with
Uh-huh.
because they thought this is not interesting enough. But
Uh-huh.
the idea is for ethical entrepreneurship. See, entrepreneurship people look at mostly at the bottom lines.
Hmm.
I am talking beyond bottom lines.
All
When
right.
say they say that entrepreneurship is all about profitability of the key stakeholders, even when you look at public limited companies which are listed and things like that, they are also speaking mostly about their shareholders and the profits they can generate for these shareholders. When you're talking of ethical entrepreneurship, I am talking of at least three core components, which are ecology,
Mm-hmm.
economy, and equity. When I
Yes.
say of ecology, ecology has to be regenerative.
Hmm.
Economy has to be circular and mostly localized. And equity, when I say, I mostly am speaking about a bit of redistributive and equitable distribution of the value add. So, just again, to give a quick example, a farmer works on a particular crop, say, for example, a particular lentil, moong dal,
Hmm.
and is working for 4.5 months almost, or 4 months almost,
Hmm.
taking all the risks during this sort of this particular duration, and sort of taking the brunt of the climate, Mosam, and market. Both
Yes.
might not be in their favor,
Hmm.
and towards the end the ultimate sort of income or the whatever they get is pretty much very less as compared to what the end consumer is paying. So
Hmm.
maybe sitting in an urban household we are paying 120 rupees a kg, the farmer is getting something around 40, although their risk was for 4 months and they did the maximum sort of time consuming, energy consuming efforts that they put into it. But there was a processor who bought it in, say, for example, big sacks and just processed the dal and packed it in a plastic packet. And you are getting it like, say, they are getting like almost two-thirds of the entire value chain. So that is what I call it equitable. That entire the value add that is happening from production to consumption should have some sort of an equitable distribution
Yes.
attached. So that is how I would see ethical entrepreneurship as.
Great ideology, sir. So next ahead questions will be asked by Priya.
Hello, sir. This
Yes,
is
Priya, go
Priya.
ahead.
So nice
Yeah.
of you saying very clearly about each of the experience you have been. So going to the next question, challenges and solutions. As you working in regenerative agriculture and ethical entrepreneurship, what are the challenges you have faced and how did you solve them? I mean, how did you address them?
So within the agri domain today, I believe the two of the biggest challenges are the market and the climate. And we are
Mm-hmm.
all talking of the climate change, right? And I don't call it climate change anymore. I call it climate chaos because the idea is change is something which you can predict. If you can predict the degree and the direction of something, then I will call it change. But here it pretty much is falling now into a range or a region where predictability is getting more and more difficult. So that is how I call it climate chaos. So this climate aspects and the market aspect is what the biggest challenges I see as
Yes, yes.
when you are talking into agri domains. Of course, there are issues like, say, the current systems that are there in the villages, how a particular landlord or maybe a few sort of seed sellers or that system, how it is impacting the village or the rural space is definitely a challenge. But honestly, for me at least, the juncture I am at, I see that as a secondary challenge.
Mm-hmm.
So if you talk of the climate and the markets, for markets, we think that a certain approaches that we have tried has worked. Maybe we will need to explore a few more approaches depending upon the conditions of a particular market. And the approaches that have worked is that if you can enhance or the increase a bit of localized consumption with
Oh.
a very transparent supply chain, so the
Mm-hmm.
trust can be built. You know, Priya, when you know that I am the farmer who is actually delivering or growing for you, you have a
Mm-hmm.
certain degree of trust on me. And when
Yes,
I know that I am delivering it to Priya's family, I will also be doubly cautious about
yes,
what I am using in that production methodology, right? So
yes, yes.
today, what has happened is, as compared to yesteryears, what has happened is, uh, the buyer, the consumer, and the producer have been separated by a huge distance. We do
Mm.
not know the faces and the names of each other.
Yes.
And with the technological possibilities that you have, just a small QR code can maybe connect you with me, with
Mm-hmm.
numbers, with details, with family details, with location. And a very sort of small QR code can also make it transparent, the entire traceability aspect that is now gaining a lot of momentum. So we can
Mm-hmm.
showcase that what all has gone into the production. So once
Oh.
we start building such aspects, I think that localized consumption could be sort of enhanced. That is one. And the second is, given that there will maybe be a dip in production initially when you are going through this transitory phase, I would suggest, or I have tried at a couple of places, to create a few premium slash niche products, even if
Oh.
it could go to the export market, or if
Mm-hmm.
10% of your farm, 20% of your farm can generate something which has medicinal value and can go to an industry which is ready to pay you a lot more. So if you have a diversified portfolio on a farm, and that is why I was talking of the design aspect, then what
Yes.
happens is that this can take care of the market side of things. And
Mm-hmm.
with this diversified portfolio, since we are approaching it from an agroecological perspective, we will have a lot of biodiversity there. Eventually, if it can be done on clusters, and that is a
Mm-hmm.
wish that we all of us have, if that can be done, there could be a certain degree of microclimate also that can be built. So I'm not
Oh.
saying that we will be able to completely neutralize the effect of climate, but at least within that area, if there is some microclimate effect, and you have
Okay.
already worked on your soil and the microbial systems, together, I think this will be able to mitigate that risk also to a lot of extent. So those are
Mm-hmm.
the two things that I see, and that is where I see the challenges, and that still needs to be explored a lot more for sure. But these
Yes,
are a
yes.
couple of instances that I had in my at the back of my mind, and I'm sharing it.
Mm. Yes. You're right. Absolutely right. So, coming to the Academy of Social Franchising roles, through the Academy of Social Franchising, would you be interested in taking on a role such as a mentor, knowledge partner, or social franchisee, and why?
I think that decision can be maybe taken slightly later, that which
Okay.
particular one actually suits me
Okay.
most.
Fine.
And that,
Mm-hmm.
having heard me so far, and any other questions that you might have after this
For
also,
sure.
I
For
think
sure.
you will be in a better position to decide what suits me best. But I am very, very, very open to actually collaborating with all individuals, organizations, and ecosystems to make
Mhm.
this happen. In fact, when I was going
Okay.
through your website, the four P's that you have written there, yeah, people,
People.
planet, partnership, and prosperity. These are the four things
Yes.
that you have written on your website when I was going through
Yes.
the website. So
You're
that
right.
is
You're
what
right.
really clicked with me, because I
Mm-hmm.
pretty much in my engagements, I always keep on propagating these things. that without partnership, it is impossible to do what we are the
Yes.
scale that we are wanting to achieve. When we are talking of 1 million, 10 million families, it is
Yes.
impossible to do it without partnerships. And
Yes.
my approach is also that we are actually going to grassroots organizations in these communities, getting them on board. And first, we are convincing them that whether it's a good opportunity, whether we are moving in the right direction or not. Once
Mm-hmm.
that setup has been done, only then we are going to the communities. So, of
Okay,
course,
fine then.
I'd be more than happy to join hands in any sort of area or the way you feel comfortable with.
It's a great insight, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you
very
so
much.
Thank you.
Don't
Thank
worry,
you,
we
sir.
will ensure that this information reaches you and you start
For sure.
adopting things easily.
Wish you all
Yeah.
the very best, sir. Thank you so much for your
Thank
future
you.
goals.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank you,
great
sir.
day.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you.